Yeah, as I said, it's quite a complicated one, but you did, yeah, the areas that you said are what we cover. We're quite old. I think we started in the 1800s or so. I may be wrong, but we are quite an old company. But we started off as an insurance company, so a lot of people in the generation, the baby boomer generation, know of Legal and General as an insurance firm. But then we've morphed into this investment firm, as you say. So one of the main things that we do now is that we invest these big sums of money for big institutions or big companies or their pension schemes, for example. It could be your parents, your teachers. We all have pensions, and we need to somehow put it in a pot to be grown by investments. And that's exactly what we do as a firm. We help those pots of money grow by finding things to invest in. So yeah.
My name is Katie. I work in the talent acquisition team at Legal and General. I've been here for just over 3 years. So my role, talent acquisition, I think that's sort of fairly self-explanatory, but what I do is I'm responsible for recruiting the best talent that we can find to join our organisation. I focus mainly on LGIM and our recruitment into LGIM, which is our investment management part of the business. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm speaking with candidates, hiring managers, and making many offers, which is the best part of my job.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
I'm James Cowley, very pleased to be part of this session. So in terms of my career background, I've been in the investment management business for more than 20 years. I've been at Legal and General for over 12. During those 12 years, I've had the opportunity to work in a couple of different roles, but my current job title is business process modeler. And the purpose of what I do is to help other teams in the business be as efficient as they can be in the jobs that they do. So what does that mean? Well, I think everything we do in our day-to-day jobs as individuals or teams is a process or a series of processes. So it's the steps or the tasks that we perform to do our job. So my role is to document those tasks and steps in an easy to understand diagram and what we call a process flow. And we use a software program to help us do that. And then we review the process and suggest improvements or quicker or smarter ways of doing things. And then we also design brand new processes. So when the company is doing something for the first time, we speak to all the different people or the teams involved and make sure that we're designing a process that works for everyone. So that is essentially my day job.
Lovely, thank you, James. Who have we got next? Jonathan.
Hi, so I'm Jonathan. John, I work in the finance department at Elgin. So what I basically do is companies will give us their money to invest it in all sorts of ways. And my job is to work out how much money those clients need to pay us on a quarterly basis usually, and send those invoices to clients and then chase their debts if they haven't been paid. That's mostly the job that I do. I also analyze the revenue that we make every month. So for the clients that I look after, every month I look at the revenue or how much money we made from those clients every month, and I look at the difference from the previous month, and I say, well, what's happened here? Is it a market movement? Has something else happened? And yeah, so that's basically what I do.
Hey, I'm Junior. So I work in the finance department and I'm a senior finance analyst. I've been with Legal and General Investment Management for a year now. I started off my career as an auditor, external auditor, and then moved over to finance. And what I do is look over the expenses side in the technology department. So technology will be, for example, the IT, getting the services online. If you have any issues with connectivity, just getting that all sorted and looking over their costings for that, seeing if they have enough budget to bring on new staff, to bring on new systems, to think about how they can reduce their costs. So if they're reducing their costs, how they can keep within budget, and then they free up costs to make more revenue for the department as well.
Morning, all. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and I think we're going to go through what Legal & General do. So hopefully some of these roles will start to make a little bit more sense to everybody once we do that. My job is I work with clients themselves, so very different to what everyone else does. So we have these big pension schemes as clients, and they invest money with us. And my job is to be the front person, the person who's in contact with those clients, and they ask us questions every year. It could be, how are my investments doing? What are you investing in? How many people are in the firm? All those different questions that clients want to know every year, or if they are not clients, but they could be clients. So it's part of the sales process. I could be contacting them to tell them about the firm and the things that we do. So yeah, very different. It's very fun, but most of my job is writing answers all day, every day, writing big documents with like sales pitches almost to sell ourselves to these big pension schemes.
Hello, everybody. Lawrence has just gone before me, and we're both a member of the same team, the RFP team, and he's done a fantastic job in terms of laying out exactly what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat that one, but I think what I would say is that we write RFPs, which stand for requests for proposals, and that's usually for prospective clients. So think about people essentially looking for places to put their money. So pension funds shopping, essentially. And we also write RFIs and DDQs, so requests for information or due diligence questionnaires. And as Lawrence mentioned, those two types of questionnaires tend to happen on a yearly basis. So they will be existing clients, and they want to know what we've been up to over the past year and what's changed. I think the easiest way to try and describe it is, if you think about when you're going shopping and looking to purchase a car, for example, you'll go into a car manufacturer and you will ask them lots of questions about the vehicle. So what does the car look like? What color it is? What its experience is, i.e. how long it's been on the road and what its mileage is, what its performance is like, so how well it can drive, how fast it can go, and also how safe it is. So how risky would it be for you to drive that car on day to day? So as Lawrence mentioned, some of the questions can be very simple, from what's the name of your company to when it was founded, all the way through to complicated questions such as how is your business run? Tell us a bit more about the fund manager that is going to be looking after our money. How much experience do they have, for example? And our job is to write these answers in the best way in order to move us to the next stage of the sales process. So that's pretty much us.
Hi, my name's Mark Lloyd. Like James, I've been in financial services now for 20 so years. I've worked for a number of different similar type companies. But I started off as an accountant. I qualified after doing A-levels and went into something other than financial services. So I crossed over a bit later on. I've been with LGIM for 5 years now, and work in the finance department with John and Junior, but we've all got very different roles. And there's three parts to finance, I would say. There's the operational part, which is to do with moving money around and doing the accounts and doing regulatory type of reports. There's something called business partnering, which is where you get them to work with the business more closely to help them understand the numbers, and you work on lots of different projects. And then there's something called financial planning and analysis, which is really to do with planning the annual budgets, or whether it's looking over 3-year plans. So there's kind of 3 areas to go in, and they do all cross over. My role at the moment is to do with something called revenue optimization, and it actually crosses over into all 3 of those parts. And I've got a small team, and we look at 3 things mainly. We look at, like John, we do invoicing, so we invoice the clients for the work that we've done. But we look at specifically some of the more complex contracts, and the ones that take a bit more working through an analysis to do. I also look at run a committee which looks at fees. So whenever we offer a new fee rate to a client that we've now won, that'll go through a number of checks and reviews, and I run that committee there. And the third thing I do, which I do with John quite closely, John Kahn, who spoke to you earlier, we look at something called automation. So we look at making our invoicing much more process driven, much more reliant on systems, and then we try and use people for doing the more complex activities. So sort of 3 areas I work across that links in with other people on this call.
Sure. Yeah, I think what's great about what we're talking about here is that you're all getting some insight into the types and the variety of jobs that a company like Legal & General can offer. So I know that when I was in year 12, I wouldn't have had any idea really about this sort of thing. And therefore, I think you've got the opportunity now to attend as many of these, take all of this information in, and then actually you've got a chance then to be better prepared for interviews when you get to that stage. So I know certainly when I was at your stage, I would have gone into an interview not that prepared and not that knowledgeable about all of these different opportunities and how a company like Legal & General works. So I think if you attend as many of these type of sessions as you can, take all of this information in, this is something you're interested in, and then you can just prepare yourself in the best possible way you can for when you go for that interview.
Sorry. Yeah. So just to continue James' point, I have to say I would never have been so switched on at 18 to come to a meeting like this. So just the fact that you're doing this and taking an interest and looking like a few years ahead and trying to think about what you're going to do in life, that's already a huge step, in my opinion. So just keep doing that. Keep looking out for opportunities and how you can learn and how you can broaden your horizon and think about what you're going to do in the future and plan your steps thinking about that. That's the best thing, and just working hard. And when you work hard, there's nothing that you can do wrong, because as long as you work hard, you'll be successful. It doesn't matter what you do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, my advice would be, if you're planning on going to university, you don't know what to do yet, just look into something you enjoy and you have a passion in. If you want to do finance and you're not sure whether accounting finance is the right route, but you enjoy a language, if you want to do the language, go for a language. I think Jonathan mentioned earlier in the Deloitte, and for example, I worked at EY in our audit firms. So it's accounting firms, but there are people who come in with various degree backgrounds. I had friends who did either history or geology, and they've come into accounting and finance, and they just went through, did something at university they enjoyed, and then they got the job like that. And if university is not for you and you're not sure whether you want to go for it, there's apprentices schemes out there. So Katie mentioned previously that LGIM has apprentices schemes, for example, in IT and finance. I work with a department which looks at the engineering side, and I know they take in apprentices during the year as well. So there's many different options out there. If uni is not the right route, apprentice. If you want to go to uni, just do something you enjoy.
So don't panic if you don't know what you want to do to start off with. Just try and identify where your strengths and weaknesses are. Identify what your skill set is and what you enjoy, because I think, you know, work takes such a large part of your life. If you do something that you enjoy, then it makes it a lot easier. I would also just say network. Go to events such as these, get involved with as many different things as you can, whether that's in college, university, because, you know, when recruiters such as myself are coming to recruit entry level talent into the organisation, we're looking for individuals who've shown that they've gone that extra mile. So I think, you know, as we've said, you know, attending these events is a great way to show that you've done that. And if you haven't got one already or haven't heard of it, definitely create a LinkedIn profile. That's where I tend to source a lot of my candidates from. So definitely get yourself on LinkedIn if you're not already.
Yeah, sure. Just building on what Katie said in terms of speaking to people, I find that really helpful in a different sense, in the fact that when I was at school, I think everybody just wanted to either be footballers or teachers, and that's simply because that's really the only two routes that we really knew about for sure. And that's because we didn't have this exposure to speaking to people. I certainly didn't know what a financial services company did. So my advice would be, if you see something which is different or something which is interesting that perhaps a parent's friend does, or someone you met once does, or someone you've heard about, and you can contact, just send them a link, say, can we catch up? I just want to learn about what you do. I just want to speak about that job. What you do seems really interesting, but I don't really know what it is. Can we talk about it? Because unless you know about these jobs, that they exist, like companies like Legal and General exist, then it's hard to sort of picture yourself doing a job like this. So just speaking to people, and when you hear that someone has an unusual job or does something fun or interesting, just saying, can we speak for 5 minutes and just tell me what you do? Because the other thing is people love to speak about their jobs, especially if they're passionate. So people will never be offended if you ask them to talk about their job. So yeah, just speak to as many people as you can, and then you can build an idea of what you can see yourself doing, I guess.
Yeah, brilliant advice, Lawrence. I definitely agree. Ask lots of questions, be curious, and speak to people, because you've definitely got absolutely nothing to lose by doing things like that, or by coming to sessions like these. Can we hear from Pierre?
Yeah, no worries. I was just going to follow on from Katie and Lawrence's point, which is, you know, social media is really important at the moment. I think LinkedIn would be a great one for you guys just to get involved with, and try not to be afraid of you know, thinking about companies that you want to potentially work for. Legal in General, some of the companies that you interact with on a day-to-day basis that you really like. Maybe it might be Nike, it could be Apple, it could be Amazon, things like that. And think about where you might want to fit into companies like that. And just head to LinkedIn, give it a search for a company, search for a job title, and reach out to a few people. You may not get responses from absolutely everybody. People are incredibly busy, and people's inboxes do get really full. They're busy enough with their day job, but there may be a chance that somebody might get back to you. A tip in terms of networking could be to have a look at what they post, you know, on a day-to-day basis. Give them a follow, and maybe try and interact with some of the things that they're doing. It could be something outside work that they're proud of, that they've achieved. For example, a 10K run like Lawrence has. You could mention something like that. You could say, hey, Lawrence, just reaching out and saying, you know, well done on the 10K run. That's great. I run too. Try and find something in common with him. And then, you know, you can use that as a segue to ask him questions about his career. And you never know, a coffee can then turn into an introduction. And yeah, so I'd always be on the front foot with things like that, and just be open to just asking as many questions as you can.
Brilliant advice. Yeah, thank you very much. Last but not least, let's hear from Mark.
Okay, I'll be quick. Yeah, I think a lot's been said, but I think I'd ask students to kind of look at some of their, as well as their academics, look at some of their other bits they're not so comfortable with and not so good at. It might be talking in public, it might be something to do with writing or numbers, and try and find something to help challenge yourself in that area and complement. So it might not be something that you use mainly in your job, but it's good to have that broad range of skills as well. And secondly, just following on from the social media side, I think if whatever industry you want to go into, whether it's financial services or maybe it's the pharmaceutical industry, most of the top 5 companies in the industry, once you find out who they are, they've all got really, really good websites these days, and the career sites are really good in terms of showing you the types of jobs that are there, and the routes in, and it's really, you can access them in literally, you know, seconds. So, you know, pick 5 companies in the industry you want, have a look and have a route around and see what you can find. And if, for example, you want to know what a pension is, well, you can ask, but also a lot of these websites have really good explanations for people in terms of what these types of things are.